Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the Google Pixel 4a. Finally, right? So this thing was originally supposed to be announced back in May, and then a pandemic happened, and things just kind of got delayed from there. Just like last year, the Google Pixel 3a was announced at their I/O 2019 developer conference. That was the first A series. What happened this year was I/O got canceled. First, it moved to a digital event, and then it got canceled completely. And then the Pixel 4a launch got kind of lost for a little bit. So I have some other Pixels here. Right, this was the first Pixel I ever reviewed. It was the 3XL, and I've fallen in love with this line of phones. But the thing is, they're all very similar because they all kind of use the same camera still. This is the 3A XL, and this was announced last year. It's the first A series. So the idea behind this, and the reason that I have it out, is because this is meant to provide a more inexpensive experience without sacrificing features. So it's really about providing that flagship experience, but in a more inexpensive package. And that's where the A series comes in. There's no XL model this year. It's just the 4A. And it's still like you get all the camera features that you get from a Pixel. The new astrophotography is in there. You get all the instant updates. Instant updates isn't the right word. You get day one updates is what I'm saying. So like if there's a new Android update, you're one of the first to get it with the Pixel 4a or any Pixel. Okay. Now playing is a cool feature. It's probably one of my favorites. That's where on the always on display, it like if there's a song playing, it just kind of tells you what's playing, so you don't have to open up like a Shazam app or anything like that. It's pretty cool. So this phone has a Snapdragon 730G processor. Now, not a 5G chipset. If they wanted 5G, they could have, and they would have used something like a 765. But there is a Pixel 4a 5G coming later on this year, and that probably will have a Snapdragon 765. And then the Pixel 5, of course, will apparently also have the 765. Another thing that's new is that the display is OLED, so we should have prettier colors, blacker blacks, good stuff. And that's, by the way, they've used OLED before on the flagships. This is the Pixel 4. They've used OLED before, but not on the A series. The Pixel 3a had an LCD, and honestly, it was all right. Some things are still missing. Wireless charging is still missing. Sadly, it's still made of plastic. If you want glass, you have to get the regular Pixel series. And again, also if you want wireless charging, obviously. But the camera, like I said, the camera is pretty much the same. Google hasn't changed much about the sensor at all over the years. We have dual cameras on the Pixel 4, but that's not on here. We do have that same square camera module, though, which is kind of weird and a little bit annoying considering that square camera modules are designed to fit multiple camera lenses. So if you only have one camera lens, there's no actual reason to do that. Another thing that doesn't exist with the Pixel 4a is choice. It comes in black, just black, and that's actually the name of the color too, just black, because this comes in just black. And this is the first Pixel. It's the first Pixel that hasn't had an XL model. This is the first Pixel that hasn't come in more than one color. And a lot of people have said that it feels like Google's heart just isn't in it anymore when it comes to phones. I don't know that I would agree. I do feel like Google maybe might be taking a step back from their smartphone efforts and kind of like regrouping a little bit and saying like, hey, maybe we need to rethink a few things, because there have been some serious missteps over the years. And I can show you on these devices right here that there's a lot that's just wrong. Like, for instance, there's a massive notch on the Pixel 3 XL. Like, it's huge. And they kind of hide it by using something with a black background here. But if I swipe up, then if I pull up a browser, you can see that huge notch. And that was another thing with the Pixel 4. It's that they had this big bezel, and they showed off radar, like the Soli radar, and you look at this kind of stuff and you're like, why? And then the battery life wasn't great. Like battery was an issue with the Pixel 4 series for a lot of people. I didn't really have a problem with that. I kind of loved it. The thing is though, I always love Pixel phones. This is something that's never too far away from me, is some kind of Pixel phone, because when I take pictures of products for reviews, I use a Pixel because that's like the best color accuracy in cameras and the best lighting and white balance accuracy that I've ever seen comes from a Pixel. It's phenomenal. And so there is a 5.8-inch display on this thing. It looks quite nice. Now, another thing that you're going to look at though, comparing it to the Pixel 4, like, see, notice it's an all-screen design. And they didn't do that with the Pixel 4 series. The Pixel 4 series very much had a big top bezel, and so did the XL, and because they didn't want to do that massive notch again. But now this is a lot more modern looking than even the flagship Pixels that we have out there. I think they did a great job. It's got the hole punch cutout on the OLED display. It is plastic, but it feels nice. It feels premium. And when you look at Google's previous designs, right? Like this, it's more googly, is what I'm saying. All right, let's take a look at what we got in the box while this thing just finishes setting up. This is a very small box, by the way. It's kind of weird. But we've got a SIM tool, which comes with most phones these days. We've got a USB-C to USB-C cable, which is kind of interesting here. And an 18-watt USB-C adapter. And I say it's interesting because I just, Android phones have this weird fragmentation when setting them up. Like, there are different ways to restore from another device. Like, I haven't seen any rhyme or reason yet for what's used with what phone, because certain devices will have you back up from a cloud backup, or restore from a cloud backup. Certain devices will have you, wirelessly connect to another device through the Google app. And what Google does with the Pixel, or at least with this one, you actually have to connect to another phone with a wired connection. So I use the USB-C to USB-C cable to connect to the previous Android phone I was using. But you could do it with an iPhone too, and I'm guessing that's why this is in here. Because if you're using a USB-C to, let's say, A to C adapter, if you're using a USB-C to Type A adapter cable, you will need an adapter. So like maybe if you're using it with an iPhone, you could just plug that into the end of your Lightning cable, maybe? I don't really know, because, I mean, the thing is, it says to use if it's USB Type-C to Type-C, then you could just simply use the cable that's in the box there. But anyway, here's the phone. You can see, I really think that Google did a great job with this. I don't know if that's a stock background or if that's something that came from like Microsoft Launcher on the phone that this copied from. I'm guessing they put a Google Fi SIM in there, which and then I could activate it and then it would just switch to my account, which I'll probably end up doing, or I'll put my T-Mobile SIM in there, whatever. But a couple things about this, right? Like I said, hole punch display. This thing feels really nice to use. It does have the different color power button, something I always appreciate a little bit on Pixel devices, because really, I mean, I gotta tell you, I use so many phones, and sometimes I reach and I hit the wrong button or something. It's cool. It's a little color coordinated, so I mean, it's one of those little things that doesn't really matter to most people. But now we're gonna stick with Pixel Launcher on this. Also, if we put this next to the Pixel 3a, you can just see that the colors are a little more vibrant here on the Pixel 4a. It looks a lot nicer. This feels very nice to use. The bezels are narrower. That's another big thing, and we'll see that again from the Pixel 5 later this year, because remember, the Pixel 4 doesn't have those narrow bezels. And they made some good decisions here, and they cut back, because this thing's only $350. So there's a lot of things that win here. It's not everything, though. Remember, like I said, they cut back on choice. Not only is there only one color, there's only one storage configuration, too. If you don't like 128 gigs, get something else. There's 6 gigs of RAM. There's no configurations with that either, although that's not really a surprise. They've never really had RAM configurations on Google Pixels. It feels light like a non-XL Pixel would, and that's fine. Some people may wish for the XL model. Hopefully, the 5G comes in a bigger size, just because, a bigger phone means a bigger battery. Google's promising adaptive battery, which means that it's going to learn how you use your phone and adjust power consumption accordingly. But yeah, that's about it. You can see we have our fingerprint sensor on the back. That is, well, they had it on the 3A, they had it on the 3. They did not have it on the 4. There was no fingerprint sensor on the Pixel 4. And the same went for Apple's iPhones, and that was problematic because, like I mentioned earlier, there was a pandemic. And now you go out with a mask on, and facial recognition doesn't work anymore. So we all missed our fingerprint sensors. So I'm glad to see that this phone still has it. And it feels premium in almost every way. I'm going to miss wireless charging, but I've been reviewing a lot of Snapdragon 765 phones, and man, they're nice. And I never found myself wishing like, hey, I really wish I had a Snapdragon 865 right now. So hopefully the 730 can be as good, just without 5G. That's kind of what I'm hoping for here, because honestly, you wouldn't be missing anything. That dual camera, I mean, the second camera on the Pixel 4 is actually a 2x zoom camera. It's not an ultra wide like we see on other phones, so I don't think you're missing out on much there either. Like I said, Google hasn't changed much about their camera sensors over the years. They've been changing a lot more in terms of software and what those sensors can actually do. That's where things like astrophotography come in. So you still get some pretty solid lossless zoom even without that zoom lens. So, it should be pretty good. It should be kind of almost Pixel 3. Like the same thing, because the new features that are coming in via software are going to those older Pixel devices as well. It's just this should theoretically last longer. Well, that's about the story for the Pixel 4a. Like I said, there's a 4a 5G coming later this year, and some people asked why it doesn't have 5G now. And if I had to guess, that's really about not giving it features that the Pixel 4 doesn't have, because there's no Pixel 4 5G. So I think they want to save that for when the Pixel 5, when the flagship Pixel can come in with 5G, and I guess that makes sense. And what this A series is really all about is bringing those flagship features to a lower price point. And so in many ways there's not that much to talk about, which is why I struggle at some points to talk about stuff. In many ways there's not much to talk about because most of it we talked about when we went over this back in October. So now, the display is new. That's probably the biggest deal. And like looking at how the Pixel has evolved is just that they have that full body display that has very narrow bezels, the hole punch cutout. That's the thing that's actually very new for this model. The rest of it is really just about bringing those flagship features to that lower price point. And Google is very good at that. They showed us with the Pixel 3a last year that they can bring those flagship features to the lower price point using a lower end chipset, but not sacrificing much. They did sacrifice wireless charging though. They sacrificed choice. They sacrificed the glass back. And so it does feel like last year it really only felt like they sacrificed the chipset. So now I guess it does feel like a little more, but then you also gain a little more with that full body display. So that's it, guys. I'm going to be using this for a few weeks, and stay tuned. I'm Rich from Neo, and have a great night.